Gentlemen, we are live as promised. Mr. John Fitch is live in the house with myself. John, go ahead. Give me a little intro again. Give a little intro and a little update since it's been about a week and a half since we've been live.
Yeah,
what's new in the hood?
John Fitch here, longtime MMA fighter, king of grind. I'm here to take the masculinity reins back, trying to jumpstart a masculinity renaissance. I think we need to bring beauty back. We need to bring reason and evidence back.
Oh yeah.
Let's make evidence great again. But yeah, no, man, there's a lot of lost guys out there. I'm here to help. Not that I have all the answers, but we can find our way together. If I only would have known the things I know today, 5-10 years ago, who knows the heights I could have climbed. So I'm a firm believer in, a rising tide lifts all ships. So I can help. If I can help some people pull themselves up, it's just going to help me and my kids and my future and my legacy.
Hell yeah. Legacy's huge. I'm in the same boat. Yeah.
They've tried to kill it off. Like, legacy's not supposed to be important. Like, your wife not taking your name, and it's not important to have kids. Like,
well, even the government too. It's the big thing that's happening now is people are trying to make it so that you can't give your kids your wealth, and they have to pay exuberant taxes on it, and they can't, you know what I mean? Like, listen, I'm a huge fan. I'm a huge fan of that. By the way, everybody, if you're new to the channel, my name's Corey Capello.
My thing is,
John's going off on this tangent.
I gotta jump in on that because I'm not a fan of that at all.
Fan of what?
I'm not a fan of that. Like, of not being allowed to let your kids inherit your wealth.
Right.
I'm not a fan of that at all.
Right.
Because I work hard, I bust my ass, I'm trying to leave something for the future. My parents did that, their parents did that. Like, I know, like, if you look at wealth, like, it's generally lost within 2 generations. Like, not that many people maintain the wealth. You're talking about a tiny, tiny fraction of people that maintain their wealth and build on it. It's tiny, like, and everybody freaking about these billionaires and all. It's like, how many people are there really? 1,000 people? Like, I mean, so that's not the problem. They have this misconstrued notion of wealth inequality. Okay, so there's this huge gap between wealth inequality. It's never been a bigger gap between the poor and the rich in wealth inequality. Mm-hmm. But what they don't show you is the rest of that graph that shows you the difference of wealth inequality between the poorest people today and the poorest people 100 years ago. It's not even fucking close.
Right.
Like, that wealth, that's a real wealth gap. You should be fortunate to be poor today. If you're alive today and poor, you are lucky. You're lucky because you have it easier than any other poor person has in the history of our planet.
Right.
And you're complaining
this goes
about
back
it because some people climbed up higher. I'm not on board with that.
Well, the thing is this. Most people look at wealth, especially poor people in the middle class and people that are poor. They look at wealth as one pie, right? So this little circle here, right? This one little pizza. And they believe because there's people out there that have a large sliver of that pie, that is detracting from their ability 100%. To be able to gain wealth. And the reality is wealth
scarcity mindset.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And it ties directly into a victim mindset as well.
There's not enough to go around.
But that's the most crippling aspect of where they're at, is they think it's that one pie method, right? Because unfortunately too, this is something that is like being force fed into them through school. Well, how much did you learn about economics when you were in elementary school or middle school?
They don't tell you about that.
Yeah,
I think this goes a little bit deeper than just social constructs or whatever, right?
Sure.
I think because I've been doing this, I've been breaking everything down into the number one rule, which is survival.
Right.
Okay, so 1 million years ago, when they killed the mastodon, there was only so much to go around.
Right.
So I think maybe there is some of that lizard brain in us.
Sure.
Already, but we should have the forebrain, right? Our forward-thinking mind should understand that that's not where we're at anymore.
So I get that. Because there was a physical
Yes.
showing of the limitation of resources.
Yes.
Whereas now it's almost as though we're able to like
Yeah.
produce
Resources
resources
are
out of.
kind of unlimited, honestly.
Yes and
If,
no, but yeah, I got you.
well,
In a way.
if you have the means,
Mm,
like we have more than enough food available to feed everybody on the planet. It's just most of it gets wasted.
that's true.
If there's no profit to get the food to the hungry people, then nobody's going to take it to the hungry because there's no incentive.
Mm, okay. Okay.
Right.
Now,
Unless you're like super religious, right, and you want to do all this stuff because you want to help everybody.
right.
But I don't know if
God,
that
that's
is a
awful.
natural in. I don't know if that's a natural inborn thing.
Huh. I noticed this coming from a lot of people again that in the same context of what we're talking about, where um it's almost that belief system again that hey, everyone belongs to this one piece of this one
Mm-hmm.
pie, right? And therefore, in order for me to like have the good graces of God, I am going to take some of our well-deserved piece of this pie and I'm going to allocate it over to these people because that's what it still ties into that scarcity mindset.
Altruism.
Oh, for sure. I can't stand that. I think that altruism. What the fuck was that?
There's somebody speeding down my alley.
Oh, dang.
Yeah.
That's like my old place. I just moved. I don't know if you knew this about my last place, but my last place was literally butted up against the 15 here in San Diego. Now I live in a nice little spot where there's like barely anything around me. So it's pretty cool. Except for fucking daycare. There's a daycare. So I get to hear the kids like crying and yelling outside in the morning, which is cool. It's better than fucking cars rushing by all the time. Yeah, so it's that mindset, especially with that altruism, that ties directly into exactly what we were just saying, where it's like there's that one pie. And because I'm taking some of my resources from this one pie, that there makes me more elevated in a status mindset, right? I am that much better. But the thing that people don't understand about altruism is that altruism is always serving a selfish person, a selfish need, a selfish, I guess, purpose in a way, right? No matter what we do as a human being, we are always serving.
Stems from.
We are always serving. You can never do anything altruistic in a way where it is selfless because everything you do serves yourself. Everything you do. Every action that anyone takes, they rationalize it in their brain and say, this is beneficial to me. This is good, right? Even when people do bad things in the world, they rationalize it to the point where they say, this is good.
Yep.
Everyone does it. Otherwise, you wouldn't do it.
It comes down to the number one rule: survive.
I agree.
Right? Because if somebody has been conditioned or thinks that, hey, if I have this, there's this level of reciprocity we have also. You know, we have a tendency to want to do things for people who do things for us. So some of this could stem from that, the idea that the group is going to take care of you because you put yourself out there for others. But yeah, it does come back down to a form of selfishness.
And you know, I'm a big I read a lot of Ayn Rand, and she has a book out called The Virtue of Selfishness.
I didn't read that. I read Atlas Shrugged, and she had a short one. She had a short one that I read.
The Anthem, probably.
Anthem. I think it was Anthem. It was a shorter one.
Either the Anthem or yeah, I think it was the Anthem because the Fountainhead was pretty long.
Yeah, because it was Anthem. Because it was the one where they were like, they found light bulbs, and they're like, oh my god, we can't bring this technology back because what will happen to the candle makers?
Crazy, right?
Right. And that's kind of like that's part of that kind of like that's like the scarcity type of mindset. Is oh man, we can't bring these light bulbs back where everybody benefits. We have to maintain the status quo, which is the candles, because that's where all the work is.
It's almost like what happened with Tesla and fucking Edison, right? Tesla's like, oh, I want to provide all this fucking power for free, and we're just gonna power everything that's fine. He's like, fuck no, we're gonna change this up and we're gonna profit off of it. You know what I mean? So that way we create a monopoly, and it's like, it's one of those situations though in life though. What's the balance that we have? Where's the balance of benefiting all of society and providing a free service in a way, or doing something that really stimulates an economy. Like, what's better off for, seriously, what's better off for humanity?
Yeah.
And I think there needs to be probably like a fine line.
Yeah. I mean, that's an argument I don't know the answer to, because I've had this with people, because I talk about taxation as theft.
Right.
And they're like, oh, you certainly like those roads you drive on and the schools that your kids. Like, no, actually, I don't. They suck. I was like, the argument is like, would there be enough incentive for a private company to put in the effort to provide these things?
And then just have like a fraction of a cent of a toll per mile or something like that people go and ride on it. Yeah.
Because even if it's what if it's a strip mall storefront type situation, they need people to drive to their location. If it wasn't taxed, what if one of those companies like, I'm just going to put a road in so people can get to my businesses?
Yeah, I agree. But the problem then comes in with like the pay to maintain and all this other stuff. I'm sure, hey, listen, there's smarter people out there than me that can come up.
Gets in an accident on it. Somebody gets sued because you made this road and my kid got killed driving too fast on your road.
I don't believe in any of that stuff, man. I don't believe in suing people for any of that shit. I think that our justice system has gone way too far with that crap. Like if you're walking on my sidewalk and then you slip on fucking ice, like who the fuck gives you the right to sue me and take some of my property because of your fucking mishap? It's like you are not guaranteed in life to not have these kinds of accidents. You know what I'm saying? Like this is a part of life.
You're not supposed to have so many rules. Like
right.
Somebody said this the other day. Said we started out with 10.
Right.
We started out with 10 rules, and we fucked them up. If we just would have stuck to the first 10 rules, we would be a lot better off.
I like it, but
that's a way to make things wishy-washy, right? Because now you have a million of these laws everywhere. Now you can nitpick and find ways to wiggle in and wiggle out and take advantage of situations, rather than, well, thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not, steal. If they had the 10 basic ones, or if we just stuck to our basic constitution, and didn't get all crazy with the extra laws, extra suing. Like we already have human rights for everybody. Like we don't need to add all these subcategories of humans. Like, are you a human? Yes. Okay. Check that box and move on.
Right.
That's all. Exactly. That's all we need to identify. Are you human? And then what country do you belong to?
I agree.
And then that's probably it.
The biggest thing, honestly, right now is, and I think, what the fuck? All right, hang on. I'll hit you up here in a second. Yeah, I think the removal of the welfare state is key number one here. Remove the welfare state, reduce all these social safety nets. It would be on.
Well, we need to get rid of the safety nets around the big businesses also.
True.
Too big to fail banks.
Agreed.
That's what fucked everybody up 2008. Like,
right.
Well, it's not just on that's all social people.
Sure. That's all orchestrated too, for sure. I mean, what we're dealing with right now, and the reason why this all sucks.
Yeah, it was a wealth transfer.
Yeah, exactly. Well, what's going on right now is we're dealing with what's called crony capitalism. Like free trade, free markets, Milton Friedman, all this other stuff where people are able to fail, and then people that are doing things properly are able to rise up. That's essentially
socialism.
Right. That's what we're dealing with right now. We've legislated, we've become obsessed with the idea of having these titans of industry that are too big to fail, but then they fail and then we prop them back up. You know what I'm saying? It's like, no, we have to have those as icons because they've been around so long. But the problem is, and just like what you've seen as far as being like a UFC champ and stuff, it's harder to be on top than it is to fucking fight your way up. You know what I'm saying? And there's cycles, right? Like fucking Conor McGregor, for instance, he was fucking awesome. I don't think he could fucking shake a stick at anything right now though, because his cycle's done and over with, right? Like there's other fighters that have him pegged, that train harder, that have trained better, that are just evolving the sport, that can beat him. And that's just the cycle of that. And that's got to be the same thing that happens within our industries.
See, it ebbs and flows. Like
Ebbs and flows. Absolutely.
nothing is consistent except for inconsistency.
I got a question in the chat here. So he says, I'm a drug-free athlete, can get away within a week. I have no clue what that means. As an example, I'm 12 workouts per week, 4 lifting, 2 boxing, 1 soccer, 3 yoga, 1 run. I have 1 full rest day per week, but most of my workouts are 2 days. Have a career in kids also, sleep 8 hours per night. Goal is to recomp and get better at each activity. What's the threshold of training sessions a drug-free athlete can output per week? I'm at 12 right now at 29 years old. Holy shit. We'll jump on TRT when T drops below 500. You're asking the wrong guy for drug-free stuff. To be honest with you, because I've been there and I've been that athlete that did it all drug-free for a long time. And I'm a fucking animal, to be honest with you. I have an issue when it comes to training because I normally overtrain. Like my training schedule right now is this. Like I work out lift 5 times a week. I do jujitsu 3 times a week. I do Muay Thai 2 times a week. And then I do exactly like what you're talking about. Full-time career running my shit on my own and doing all sorts of other stuff. Back in the day when I was a CrossFitter and I was working out like 5 hours a day, 6 days a week and only having 1 rest day, and I was putting so much load on my central nervous system. Like, here's the thing that most people don't realize. You know, back in the day when we didn't have all this fucking information and we had to be like high speed fucking movers and shakers in industry and all this other stuff, you could get away with training like that and resting because that was like your one job, right? But now we live in a world, especially with like what's going on right now. What everything Jon and I are talking about is you need to be, in order to be alpha in today's society, you need to be a fucking jack of all trades and you have to master like, excuse me. I love what MLD Jon talks about all the time. He says you got to be constantly making muscles, you got to be constantly making money, and you got to constantly be learning game, right? And think of how many energy systems you're using for that. So you're using a lot of mental. And a lot of people don't realize that the brain uses glycogen as its fuel source. That's why these gamers, like a lot of these gamers and stuff like that are fucking epic at fucking gaming, they're literally fucking injecting Mountain Dew and eating fucking sugar constantly. Why? Because the brain is using that glucose to connect all those fucking nerves, right? That beep, 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 beep. That's what it's using as its fuel. So people have to keep going with that, right? Now, what I'm saying here is, and I just bumped into a few guys this last weekend, which were awesome. If you don't want to get on gear, there's newer stuff that's coming out, like these different peptides. And I don't know much about the peptide world, other than like what it's doing is it's breaking down certain nodes and stuff like that and kind of hitting those certain receptors and shit. That's where I think most people need to start looking into, because peptides are far less dangerous than using like steroids and stuff like that. And they're hitting specific areas of what you're trying to target. So for instance, if you're looking just strictly for recovery, there's stuff out there for strictly recovery. There's stuff out there just strictly for fucking fat loss. There's stuff out there just strictly for fucking mind muscle connection type of things as well. So that's what I would look into. And it doesn't have the same effect as far as messing with like your estrogen and so forth. So you're not going to need to do like PCTs and all that other crap. So that's where I'm at with it. Jon, what's your weigh in on that one?
So yeah, I had, 17-year fight career. I had clean except for about 6 to 9 months where I had a disastrous trial with TRT. I did not do well with that. But as far as, so what are you training for? What are you trying to do? Are you trying to compete at a high level, or are you just trying to be in shape? Are you trying to look good naked? Like, so what are your goals? First off, like I've put in crazy hours, 3 workouts a day, 6 days a week, half a day on one of the days, so like I did that forever, since I was wrestling in grade school. I've been training kind of intense all the time, but I haven't had a full-time job either. I was able to sleep. I had classes that I would sleep through. You know, I got a masterful at doing this. I could sleep on my desk. So like I had plenty of downtime in resting in between my workouts. But like, what are you trying to do? Like, if you're trying to compete as at a world, you know, class level, then, you know, you're going to have to put in some crazy work and find some time to rest, to recover, if you're not going to go the gear route. But yeah, you have to assess what your goals are. And I don't think you have to, if you're just trying to be in great shape and look great, you don't have to like kill yourself. Like, it doesn't take murdering yourself daily to look good. Like, you can lift a couple days a week and do hard hit cardio once a week. Those 3 workouts, you'll look pretty good. But if you're trying to push to another level, competition level, then you're going to have to, you know, increase the intensity. Like, so I would do anywhere from 6 to 12 weeks training for a fight. Those 6 to 12 weeks were short, intense workouts where I had to rest and get massages and stuff in between some of those, you know, a couple times a week, whatever. But when the fight's over, I would take a 1 to 2 week break, and then I would get back to training. Except the training wasn't as intense as it was when I was training for the fight. It was more technical, and that's low key, low output. I'm not getting beat up. I'm not battling every day as much.
You're not stressing the central nervous system that hard.
Yes, the workouts are longer when in the off season, basically out of fight camp. My workouts are longer, but there are less of them, and they're at a lower pace, lower key, and I'm not doing any cardio. Like, I'm not going to do cardio other than if I'm wrestling, if I'm grappling or doing some wrestling and stuff. And even that, it's like light paced. I'm not trying to kill anybody when I'm in my downtime.
It's more a mental thing. My job is stressful, and I've noticed that since I upped the workouts to 12, my mental health has never been better as I seem to. It sounds like he's typing a little bit more. So what he's saying essentially, Jon, is he's doing these workouts to kind of, because his job's stressful, he's using his workouts as an outlet. And then obviously, you know, you get a lot of response from working out. There's a lot of, you know, dopamine and oxytocin that flows through. Your adrenaline gets pumped up. Your neurotransmitters are fucking jiving. So it does feel good. Adapt to learn easier with exercise. It's almost a nootropic of sorts, like a cheat code. Yeah, absolutely.
I think so. Yes, 100%. I think you will clean. I think you will think clearer if you're working out like that. Yeah, it's going to clean your thoughts. And I think there's a level of meditation for me personally. When I'm doing workouts, there's definitely a piece of deep meditation with that. Like, I'm really focused. There's one thought in my mind. Like, I really focus on breath and what my body's doing, how I'm feeling as I'm working my way through the movements. So yeah, I think there's tons of benefits from working out like that.
Yeah, I like it. One thing I would add to this too, because you're bringing up a lot of mental stuff. I used to do that. So I was dealing with my PTSD in the military by working out so much. But at the same time, when you're only just working that one energy system, you're kind of leaving yourself exposed, right? Because what happens, this is kind of like essentially where I had a breakdown, was it's like, okay, who are you as a person, and what other ways do you have to deal with your stress? Like, let's say, for instance, you became a quadriplegic, God forbid, right? Or something happened where you're not able to work out, and then all of a sudden you have this bundle of energy and you're not able to get it out. What kind of person are you going to become? And for me, I became a fucking mess. I fell apart, right? So me personally, what I would add to your repertoire right now is this. Definitely add meditation to your repertoire. It's not, people underestimate the power of just sitting there for 20 minutes. I sit there for 20 minutes. I listen to binaural beats. I focus on my breathing, and all of a sudden, the next thing I know, I'm kind of dealing with all my problems, and I'm having like time with myself to kind of decompress and release a lot of this kind of pent up shit that I have going on. The other thing I was going to say was acupuncture as well. Big fan of that. He's saying here, since I've quit coffee and switched to matcha tea, which is awesome, with L-theanine, which
Yeah.
is great too. Great. That's a great amino acid to kind of get rid of that caffeine spike that really taxes your adrenal glands. Never look back. If you haven't tried that, give it a bash, as it helps with high workloads. I'm drinking yerba mate right now. I like yerba mate. Matcha's great too, but I've become a fan of yerba mate. John, I don't know if you've tried this yet. You need to do this. Are you a pre-workout guy?
Not really. I've tried them before. I'm not like a big deal, whatever.
Yeah.
But I take the you can see like down here on my bottom of my screen, I have the Gorilla Mind Smooth and Rush.
Yeah.
I'll take those as pre-workouts.
Yeah, dude. So that's what I was kind of about to get into is Gorilla Mind Rush, or Gorilla Mind came out with a pre-workout just recently.
Gorilla Mode or something like that.
Gorilla Mode. Yesterday I went I went live just to make sure that the what's it called was good. What's up, buddy? Hey. And I kept calling it Gorilla Mind Pump. For some reason, I kept thinking it was fucking Gorilla Mind Pump. But that's because that's what I felt like. I was fucking on this shit, dude. And I was like, Gorilla Mind Pump is the shit. It's Gorilla Mode. They should fucking change it. I swear to God, it should be Gorilla Mind Pump. But that stuff's bomb, dude. It's like Gorilla Mind Rush for a workout. Crazy. I really absolutely enjoyed it. I'd consider looking at that because I'm not a big fan of just pumping caffeine into me and using that as my workout or my pre-workout, because that's what a lot of these other things do.
I have another. We'll say I only do this in Oakland because it's not illegal, but in Oakland. But microdosing is a fun little thing I like to do when I work out sometimes.
Mushrooms or LSD?
It's mushrooms. So psilocybin, I'll take about 150 to 200 milligrams, which is like 15 to 20% of a threshold dose. Threshold would be like makes you trip and talk to Jesus and the flowers on the wall. Yeah. But so it's enough to give you a little kick. It feels like a pre-workout. It lasts a long time. And man, it's another level of focus. All right, so there's a book called The Food of the Gods, Terence McKenna. You can find it. You can find the audio version on YouTube, Food of the Gods. Listen to that. He goes through his stoned ape theory, where he thinks we made the biggest jumps as humans because we started eating mushrooms.
I agree with that theory.
And he says the heightened senses when you microdosed, they would just eat a little bit of a cap or stem, and then they would go out hunting, and your vision, your sight, your vision, your hearing, your smell, everything is alerted. So he said it would have been a natural advantage for anybody who is using this to be a better hunter-gatherer. Interesting book. If your guys are driving and you have time to listen to that, like it's on YouTube. Yeah, it's a good listen.
What the mushrooms, even LSD, and I even came back after my IBOGA experience. With a few caps of IBOGA that I was microdosing. And what a lot of these entheogens have the ability to do, I mean, really what they do, the first aspect of when you start to take them is, Chance, go on the bed. All right. Or you could sit. Or not. It starts to channel and reconnect everything in your central nervous system. That's what it does. And it opens up everything to like, man, it's awesome. It like decompresses. Like that's the first thing I feel when I take
different
mushrooms.
pathways.
Correct. So that's why those things are fucking phenomenal.
I had a friend, she was having like nerve issues and feeling problems with her hand. Yeah. And she started taking them and got the feeling back in her arm, and like she probably has some kind of blockage somewhere. And now the mushrooms are helping her reform neurological connections around the blockage.
Exactly. 100. That's exactly what they do. On top of when you take those higher doses, like what you're talking about, you tap directly into fucking consciousness. So that's why, I've deduced that on my own as well, outside of Terence McKenna. But then hearing Terence McKenna talk about exactly that theory, and Joe Rogan even brings it up because he was talking about Terence McKenna.
I'm a lot less. Some of these guys, get into a lot of like spiritual woo-woo magic stuff. And I'm not on that board. I'm not like, oh, it's the mysticism of the universes and we're all connected. I don't know. We're meat bags. We have the same programming. And when we take the mushrooms, like it just opens up our subconscious, and those neurological pathways are going in different directions. So different things are popping up that normally aren't there.
Right.
And that's unique. And that unique experience has us feeling this way. And people try to label it as spirituality or some oneness, connectedness, and I'm not on that.
I've been there, and also through my own stuff, I've realized afterwards that no, the thing that I've been able to deduce about energy is this. Sure, we all belong to the same energy. Energy is just a blanketed statement, right, to understand it all. But the thing is, and the cool part is too, you, John, you have your own consciousness, right? Which means you are an individual. Which means what? In order to be an individual within energy, that means you have to hold a specific frequency that nobody else can have. That no one else can have. So sure, we might belong to the ocean, right? Which is just all of energy, but at the same time, you specifically have your own distinct frequency. And this is what I was able to learn through IBOGA too, was that distinct energy is my channel back to the source. So I'm able to learn these things, right? This is why I'm so anti-religion, because what religion does is it tries to create like a blanketed form of like, hey, these are the channels by which you get to the spirit world or whatever, right? But the reality is,
well, it creates a hierarchy
right
to access.
Right. Well, the thing is too, though, the downfall
that happens in the spiritual realm too, because then you have
Agreed.
the shaman, and you have to go to the shaman, and they just create another hierarchy, which shows that humans are hierarchical.
For sure. Absolutely. So that's a thing though. But the thing that we're trying to get to now, and this is what my second book is really starting to get to, is understanding our biology, but then understanding the aspect of the oneness as well. So what's the game plan and how do we go about doing this kind of in the future? Well, the thing is, sure, we should still have shamans, but the thing is, the shaman is supposed to just be someone who's able to like lead the process, but not tell you what to see or what to look for or what you did, right? Like when I did peyote, I went out into the desert. I had a gatekeeper that was the holder of the peyote, right? And they're like, here is the tried, true, and tested tradition of how you do the peyote ceremony. But this is going to be something that they call it a walkabout, right? You go out into the desert of fucking Arizona in the middle of nowhere, right? And you drink your peyote tea, and then you sit around a fire all night long, right? And then the ceremony is done when the sun comes up, kind of deal. And then whatever you learn, that was your direct message. Doesn't make sense. And it's the same thing for IBOGA. And it's kind of the same thing for Ayahuasca too. But Ayahuasca is a little bit more like, you know how the feminine is always trying to do those kinds of like collaborative types of shit, right? So that's a little bit more of the Ayahuasca. But the more masculine things that I've dealt with have been like, yeah, this is all individual. You are going to go out and you're going to have a vision quest. I can't tell you what you're going to see. I can't tell you what you're going to hear. But part of our tradition is that you do this vision quest in this manner. And that's kind of that. It's that simple. Like you receive your knowledge the way that you receive your knowledge. And that's truth. Now, the cool part with IBOGA, and this is how they kind of determine what truth is what they would do is they would have a question that was kind of plaguing the tribe. And they would go and they would grab other people from other tribes and they'd say, hey, we're looking to have an answer. They don't tell them the question that they're looking for. And what they do is they say, you're going to go over here and you're going to do an IBOGA ceremony. This other guy is going to go over here. He's going to do an IBOGA ceremony. And this guy over here is going to go do another IBOGA ceremony, and all separate, right? So they go, those three come back, and then they come back and they ask the question. And when they come back, and if all three of them answer the question in the same way, then that's how they're able to realize it's truth, because it's like a double blind study in a way. You know what I mean? And it's crazy because this is kind of wrapping back into the like Terrence McKenna thing, is that's how you know you receive answers, I guess, from consciousness, is when people all experience something similar without having any preconceived notion of it. Does it make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh,
So
yeah.
to me, that's not any type of magic, spiritual type thing. It's we're machines,
Uh-huh.
and we're all the same program. We're all the same, we're all the same components.
Uh-huh.
We're made from the same stuff. We have different vibrations, but they're still similar because we're still human. And when we have similar experiences, it's because we are so similar.
Yeah.
There's so much that's matched up between each person biologically that it makes perfect sense that when we take the same substance, we have relatively the same experiences.
I agree. Um, I guess my I would fucking have you do a fucking awesome IBOGA trip to kind of like see this shit.
Yeah,
That'd be
that would
epic.
be. I
Because
need,
it
yeah, like I've done DMT and I would be down to try ayahuasca, but like I get annoyed with the ceremony
why?
because I'm just like, just give it to me. I'll take it in my garage. I'll take it in my living room. Like I'll do it where I'm comfortable and I like doing stuff. Like
So
I don't want to go out
yeah, I had a conversation.
because I'm the
Go ahead.
kind of person who's like, man, like I'll be tripping and like, and I'll be sandy and I'll just be thinking about being sandy and like, I don't
Right.
like being dirty like this. And then it's 3 hours of me being like, fuck, I'm like all dirty. Do I have to change my clothes? Like, and that's the whole experience for me.
Uh-huh.
So then I'm like, ah, fuck, that was ruined. Like
Was
I didn't,
was that mostly mushrooms that you're talking about? Like an experience with mushrooms that happened?
no, just different things that
Oh,
I've
okay.
had, you know, I don't
Yeah.
know.
One thing that I've realized, so not to dissuade you from doing an Iboga ceremony, but the crazy part about Iboga, so we start the ceremony at like 8 o'clock at night. We sit around the fire. We learn about some of the traditions and all this other stuff. And then like you finally start to feel it come in, and then you go lay down. What's up, Enigmatic Elephant? Good to see you, man. And then you go lay down, and when you're laying down, they're playing the same music over for fucking 12. Like it's like 5 different songs, but it's over and over and over for like the next 12 hours. And you're going through this process. And the thing is, like your first time, I remember. So the first time, so you do 2 ceremonies in that when you go down to the retreat, right? The first ceremony is like, okay, yeah, cool. Like I'm going through some stuff, no big deal. But the second one is when you're able to like kind of start hearing the music and you're like, holy fuck, like I got 5 more hours of this shit and I'm listening to the same fucking song over and over and over again. And you're like, this is fucking crazy. Like I can't fucking stand this. But the thing that I realized is through all of those things, there is a level of discipline that comes with the traditions that needs to be met in order for you to like, it's an initiation. Like these are like, I remember when I was getting initiated into high school, as stupid as like, they don't do that shit anymore, unfortunately. But like as stupid as some of the shit that you're doing was, it's like, all right, I get the need for these like rites of passage and doing some of this stuff. So it's a battle. It's like meditation. Like I remember when I first started meditating, I was like, dude, what the fuck am I doing? Sitting here. I'm sitting on my fucking foam roller in my bedroom thinking that this is going to do something for me. And believe it or not, after some time going through that discipline of doing it, man, it's brought so many things of value to my life. So yeah, you're absolutely right. There's a lot of discomfort. There's a lot of like, you can get trapped in some crazy cycles when you're there. Like, yeah, I got you. I get it. It sucks. It's not fun.
Because
But at the same
I have, people talk about float tanks and how float tanks are amazing. And it's just like doing mushrooms and like you get sucked into the void and all this kind of stuff. I'm like, oh, okay, we'll try it. I thought it was awful.
yeah,
I absolutely hated the float tank because you're naked, like you're partially submerged. So you're like, there's water in your ears. So like you're, I don't know. It's hot, it's dark, it's your wiener's hanging out. Like I'm just it didn't feel good in an hour, and I was stressed out the whole time. And like the last 5 minutes, I relaxed a little bit, and like it felt good on my neck. Like that was cool because it was kind of weightless, and my neck, and I was having some neck issues at the time, and that helped out. But like, man, I didn't get. I'll probably never do it again.
You've only done it one time.
Yeah, and it
Yeah.
was just like
You got to go back. You got to do it again.
Mm.
You got to do it again, man. You barely broke through. Yeah, I know, it sucks. It's like, but believe it or not, it's.
Why can't I just wear my shorts?
Dude, I don't remember doing it naked.
Yeah,
I think I wore shorts.
They were like, no, you had to be naked, and like I was just like, this is like really uncomfortable for me.
Your fucking dick is like a buoy.
Yeah, exactly. Like you're laying in the water is like coming in a little bit. That's like basically what I'm getting at. Is like so then it's kind of like the water's kind of warm, but then like it's dick buoy, and it gets cold every time it like becomes unsubmerged, and you're just like, what the fuck? What am I doing? Why am I doing this?
I feel it, but guess what? I'm gonna tell you, go do it again. Got it. It's the same thing with these ceremonies, man. I'm telling you, like, it's uncomfortable as fuck. They're not supposed to, like, this shit. Like, people don't realize you're playing with consciousness, and when you play with consciousness, there's supposed to be some prices to it. I've gotten some emails from people because I talk about IBOGA and Ayahuasca on this channel a lot, and they're like, "Hey, I'm gonna go and do it here like this," and I'm like, "Dude, don't just go do it on your own." Like, there's reasons why there are reasons why these traditions and these ceremonies exist. They've been passed down from generation to generation because before people were just fucking doing it all willy-nilly and they're fucking losing their shit. You know what I mean? Now, luckily, the cool thing is this, because I've had some
okay, maybe, or this is, a middleman that was created capitalistically. Maybe this person found a way to be the guy people had to come to access. He found a way to make money off of people using these chemicals.
Listen, I am not gonna disparage.
I'm sure grifters and people existed thousands of years ago doing the same thing.
Going down to Iquitos, Peru, that was a big thing because all these fucking stupid ass Westerners, myself included, right? We're going down there to drink ayahuasca, and of course, there are tons of people out there that are sitting there and they're like, "Hey, come into my shack. I have ayahuasca brewed and we'll fucking put you through the ceremony," right? Cheap, whatever. And they're fucking spiking it with MDMA and all sorts of shit, right? To make sure you get high and feel something. So absolutely, you're 100% right. There are people out there that do that. But then the same token, there are also people out there that that ascribe to it being, you know what I mean? They're doing it for the right reasons. So you're 100% right. I mean, just like the church, I think initially the church was stood up where there were people that were like, "Hey, I understand this is the truth and I want to fucking spread the gospel and I want people to learn and I want to give people the kind of freedom that comes along with this stuff." And then just like everything that happens, right? The fucking board members come in and they're like, "Oh, hey, like we could profit off this stuff."
Well, we said this earlier, though. We talked about this, how nobody really does something for unselfish reasons. So I think even the old religious guys going around preaching were doing something for themselves.
You have to. Yeah, absolutely. For them, so, I mean, them, it's like a path of righteousness.
So like really was all about spirituality and everything. Wouldn't these shaman be offering this stuff up for free? Wouldn't they want to be saving the world? So there has to be some kind of, what's the incentive? What is their incentive?
I know some shamans that were doing that too. I know some shamans that were doing that, and most people that I run into are like, "I wish I could do this for free." But the fact of the matter is, it's kind of like when I was running my CrossFit gym. I kept my prices as low as possible, and I was like, okay, because I want to max benefit. But when you give things away to people for free or of low value, and you're just so giving with your energy, that's when you attract these energy vampires. You know what I mean?
Well, it's a business though. These people are talking about spirituality and oneness with the universe, not a business model. right? Isn't that a
Well, what if?
problem?
Hang on, let me ask.
That's
Let
what
me
I'm
answer it
saying.
this
Like
way.
that's my thing too. Is because like it's like I go to the shaman, I go to this guy with the white dude with dreadlocks, and he's got this stuff brewed up, and he's whatever having I'm gonna do a ceremony. I'm like,
Right.
no, you're taking advantage of a situation to make money off of people getting high.
Yeah.
That's my take on it. I was like, if I want to get high, just give me the shit.
Right.
I'm gonna go get high. I'll give you the money. Like,
You're a drug dealer. You're not a shaman.
yes,
This is how the business transactions.
That's end of
Yeah.
story. Like, yeah, like I'm
Hey,
not.
I feel it.
So like for me to go through the ceremony and like put on the hat and spin around and do whatever, I'm just like, I don't know, man. I'm just not sold. I'm just like, really, dude, really, this is what we got to do. This is what's
Sure.
necessary to have a real experience. I have to do this dance with you. I have to pretend like this. I have to go along with it.
One thing that you got to understand about money here.
I'm just ruining everybody's.
Nah, you're good. I love it, dude. I think that you should continue to be as like critical as possible. 100%.
Because because that's the thing is I never hear anybody with this stance. Because like I hear people saying, "Oh, drugs are bad. Drugs are for losers." I hear that, and then I hear the everybody loves everybody. We're all one. We're all part of the energy.
I hate that.
So I hear that's it. That's the only argument I hear. I'm the only one that I know that talks about it this way.
Right. One thing I would say to you though is you haven't had a good experience with a good shaman. And two, I would say rock and roll. I want you to rock and roll the way that you're doing your fucking business, because regardless if you do it, you're going to learn something. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think you're 100% right, dude. I think that people, if that's your fucking ceremony, that's your ceremony. Yeah. Like, if I want to go off in the fucking woods myself and fucking take a bunch of mushrooms and hang out in a fucking teepee, that's cool. Cool, do it.
So I've done one like real-ish ceremony, and it was like a sweat lodge type thing. And we had mushrooms. Whoa. I didn't like it at all.
Yeah.
I didn't like it at all because I was like on somebody else's schedule. I could only go in and out of the tent when they said. And then I had a bad trip, and it wasn't fun until we got out of the tent and the ceremony was over, and then we just got to wander around the woods. That was cool.
Yeah.
But and then I've had a lot of other self-done type ceremonies where we just got a bag of mushrooms and we all went and did something, and we camped out by the riverside. We were camped out one night by a lake, like awesome stuff. And those were so much better and more fun. And, I still had a super amazing like consciousness experience.
Yeah.
And then there are times in college where we did acid, and we would do it at like 10 o'clock on a Tuesday night. And walk around campus. We called it, and then we after we did that for a while, we got bored and we started doing what we called a mind fuck. So a mind fuck was you take the acid and you go out to the bar and try not to lose your fucking mind. See how long you can stay out. And the guys would just disappear.
Yeah.
And then we'd meet up afterwards and be like, "Oh dude, I could only take for like 15 minutes. And I had to get out of there."
Dude,
trying to carry on a conversation, like you do a gel tab and you're trying to carry on this conversation with a 21-year-old drunk college chick.
Yeah.
Dude, like that's insanity.
I bet.
Like that'll give you a different appreciation for the universe around you. We used to call them pawns, right? Everybody else was our pawn because we felt like mentally superior to everybody when we went out into the crowd, into the bar, because they were all just a bunch of drunk idiots.
Right.
And you could get them to do like crazy, stupid things. Yeah. It was like you had this weird power over people. Yeah.
There's something to be said too about alcohol, which is actually a fucking depressant for your central nervous system.
It makes you
in comparison.
Makes you
for sure. It lowers your vibrational energy. As crazy as that sounds. Yeah.
And when you lift yourself up with like a psychedelic and you watch these people, it's like, oh, what's going on here?
Right. Could you imagine being a fucking monkey eating mushrooms and then looking at the other monkeys who weren't eating mushrooms and then having like these conscious thoughts? It's like, what's that fucking dude doing over there, like bashing a fucking coconut against him?
Shit at somebody?
Exactly. He's like, why is he licking his own nuts? I can wipe this shit with with some leaves. Mm-hmm. Cool. All right, let's do that from here on out. It's fucking epic, dude. This is epic shit. Yeah, hey man, do what you got to do. But I will tell you this: I've had some bad trips, and I've had to do some other things in order to get me out of some bad situations. So
Yeah.
Again, going back into it though, when people come to me and they're like, Corey, I want to do this on my own and do it, I'm like, all right. I'm like, hey, I don't recommend it because I've had some bad experiences, but those bad experiences led me to having these better experiences where now I know better. And the other thing that I've learned is this, and this is the thing that got me launched down this road, is I was sitting there, I'm diagnosed with PTSD from the VA, and they're like, you're going to be on these medications for the rest of your life. And I was like, no. It's like, no, I don't think so. Like, my understanding of just the laws of the universe at this point in time, I'm like, for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. So therefore, because there was a reaction, there also has to be an antidote to this. That's just the way that the world's made. So this can be healed. So the same thing, and
So
I
it's
take the same thing into it.
A feedback loop that needs to be reset.
Right. So the thing is,
a lot of times.
The thing is, even if you have a bad trip and you still have yourself locked into that kind of thing, right, where you're like, oh my God, I'm the devil. Because I've had that happen before too. I'm like, I'm the fucking devil, dude. Oh my God, I need to fucking die because I'm the devil. Holy shit, I'm causing all this fucking pain in the world. Like, locked into that for a while. I realized that there's other things out there. Like, I came across this other dude who was like an energy healer who fucking was able to heal, like, help me fucking work through that stuff. So even if you get lost in exploring consciousness, there's things out there that can help you get back on the track, back on, you know what I mean? Because, like, same boat as you. I was doing the same thing with mushrooms. I came back from ayahuasca and I was like, fuck it. That was my first time ever doing something like that, like a true psychedelic. And I was like, dude, I need to go and fucking try out all these other ones. Because I was having all these epiphanies, like, oh shit, I got blown up and I probably have TBI from what's it called? And knowing that I could take mushrooms, which could reconnect these neurological things in my brain, let's rock and roll with that. I was like, oh shit, they say the same thing about acid. Let's try this. So I did like 88 tabs of acid.
I went the other route. I was graduated high school, ate mushrooms before I left for college. And then once I had mushrooms at one time, well, actually, you know what it was? I got a minor consumption, right? When I was 19, my senior year, right? So I had to go through the process of, of being in trouble and going to the forced whatever meetings and
oh my God,
being treated like a crackhead,
right?
Because I had 2 beers, right? And I was 19. Oh my God. But like the way they talked to me, and like the reason I got in trouble was because, like, we impeded, we were tailgating a truck, which wasn't tailgating. The truck pulled out in front of me he impeded traffic, whatever. And they pulled me over for tailgating. Like, the kid in front of me had like a pound of marijuana in his truck.
No.
That's why he was driving so slow. And then I got picked up for 2 beers and I was just like, what the fuck? I was like super anti-weed at that point. And I was like, well, if these guys can do all this shit with weed and I get in trouble, well, I'm just going to smoke weed then.
Yeah.
So I tried weed and I was like, holy shit, this is nothing like I thought it was. This is kind of great. And then that opened up my mind to maybe trying mushrooms. And then we all had a crazy night at the pond doing mushrooms. There was like 20 of us, right? And that was amazing. And then every other experience we had after that was amazing. And I got to college, and then we had a summer of gel tabs.
Gel tabs.
It was summer and the fall of gel tabs before wrestling season started. So like we'd take Tuesday night gel tabs and then go out and explore the campus.
That's crazy. Yeah, I had none of that. I joined the military literally, like, I got my diploma and I went right to my recruit. Actually, I was at the recruiter before that. Got my diploma, and then from there, I was in the DEP, right, the delayed entry program. So I was getting ready to go to boot camp like 6 months later. And you can't touch, because you've already been screened, you can't touch drugs or anything like that. Well, they say you can't. You can. But I was like, straight and narrow, like, hey, I'm going to the military. That's what I'm doing, kind of deal. I think I smoked weed like once or twice. But even then, like up to that point, I smoked weed like 2 or 3 times total. But when I was in the DEP, I didn't. And then I went off to boot camp in the military. And then actually what was crazy was I went to A school and I had my first kind of like euphoric type of hallucination. Have you ever fucked with quercetin? Triple C's? Yeah, I had this one kid who was in the Navy. He's like, dude, you need to try this. So we fucking took a whole box of fucking Triple C's. And that was pretty crazy. That was probably, believe it or not, that was probably one of the best like euphoric types of highs I've ever had in my life. Yeah, lights out, like listening to like fucking Led Zeppelin in Mississippi, dude. It was fucking awesome. Every like light shows and stuff like that. He's doing like light shows and like you're just like, damn, whoa, cool. It was like ecstasy, but fucking, to be honest with you, I liked it better than ecstasy, because ecstasy you kind of have a bad crash. That was crazy stuff. But that was it. Like I didn't really do too much before that. And then
was that like liquid G or whatever?
What is G?
GHB. Remember, you ever have GHB?
Isn't that? I thought that was roofie.
That was well, I mean, you take G out and you're pretty much out. It could be used as that. It used to be, from my understanding, it used to be used by bodybuilders to help with muscle recovery.
Oh shit!
But then if you took enough of it, you got all like lightheaded and giggly, and there's like no hangover afterwards.
Right. This is a little bit different.
But if you took too much, you'd pass out hardcore. And
this is totally different. This is like
we have people who make
quercetin, cold and cough, right? Or cough and cold. You take the whole box, right? You take all of them at one time.
So it's like cold medicine?
Yeah, it was cold medicine.
Oh. So that's what they break. Is that what they break down to make meth?
They used to.
Okay.
But I think it's a different.
So you took a low dose. You took a low dose of meth.
But what's crazy is I don't think so, because I think this has like a complete euphoria feeling. And you're pretty much awake the whole time, and you're listening to music, and like you could feel the music. You could feel like lights in a way, and you're like tapped into like something outside of yourself as well. And like you're happy, and you just feel fucking ecstatic the whole time. There's a little bit of like a drunk feeling to it too. You're a little bit lighthearted, and you're like, hey, like kind of jovial, and like you want to party. Like I remember going out to like the smoke pit and talking to people. And I remember taking a drag of a fucking Marlboro 27. And I was like, dude, this tastes so good. Like, it's like ecstasy, dude. It was fucking crazy. Yeah. It was cool. That was good stuff.
Oh, man.
Right? So I've done now up to this point in time, I've done a lot of experimentation with a lot of different stuff. But I would say when you're playing with the big boys, I'm still a fan. Still a fan of fucking doing it through a shaman. Dude, I've heard of these shamans in fucking these Russian shamans that what's the name of that mushroom? Amanita muscaria. You know, that's the red with the white dots. That's like the most popular psilocybin. It's like what Mario eats to get bigger. Right? There are dedicated shamans that work just with the Amanita muscaria. I'd be interested in doing something like that, but at the same time, I really don't. I have no drive any longer to do anything that's like a DMT trip ever again. Because mushrooms mimic. I don't know if you know this. Chemically, they mimic DMT, very close. So the feeling of mushrooms, although it's different, like you talked about, it's more of like this oneness kind of like. That's why people get the mushies. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're like, oh, we're all connected. We're all jiving, because fungi, believe it or not, are connected through mycelium. And that's kind of how they operate. It's like the brain. But yeah, that would be crazy to work with those guys and see what kind of, if it would be different from what I did on my own. But at the same time too, they talk about this. They talk about, collective consciousness or the collective unconscious. And consciousness bubbles. And that's why like things like ketamine right now, where like when people do ketamine Oh, fuck, dude. Holy shit.
My buddy had ketamine nasal spray.
Oh, my God.
It was unreal. It's a disassociative.
It's
So
fucking
like it's like
crazy.
2 squirts, and it's like you're like lifted out of your body.
You
Like,
get sucked out of your body.
whoa,
Yeah.
like looking down at everything.
It's
wild.
crazy.
It's
crazy. Like people, they use ketamine
There's-
right now to help out with guys that get.
It's supposed to
blown
be like
up.
one of the like most absorbable thing in your body. Like it doesn't do any damage.
It's man, I've had some gnarly experiences, and that's what they're talking about. Like people, like I hit a K-hole, and I was in a K-hole for like 3 weeks, where I was like, "Who the fuck am I? Where the fuck am I? Where's my body?" Kind of, you know what I mean? Like it was crazy, really creepy. But they say that type of stuff happens because ketamine is so new that it's still building a collective unconscious. Whereas things like marijuana, like I know, for instance, like when I would trip on marijuana, like on cannabis or whatever, I would tap into some like crazy Egyptian shit. Like I would fucking get connected to some like ancient Egyptian fucking stuff that was like beyond like anything. And the same thing with like mushrooms, and LSD is kind of the same thing too, but in a way, like it's still newer. It's a newer technology. But they're saying like the reason why all these things happen is because there's a collective unconscious that's tied into that consciousness. Does it make sense? Are you following anything I'm saying? Because that's like, you know, the fucking, when people talk about doing mushrooms and they talk to the fucking machine elves. Have you heard about these things? The fucking machine elves?
Machine elves.
The fucking machine elves. Or like when, like with ayahuasca, some people go and fucking talk to lizard people, the lizard aliens.
Oh man,
it's part of the collective unconscious. Anyway, man, we went on a fucking tangent today on that, huh?
it's good, fun talk.
I dig it.
But yeah, I gotta wrap it up. I gotta get on with my day. I gotta make up for the time lost on Thursday, recovering from too much
booze.
wine.
Yeah, I feel it. What do you got going on today?
I am gonna work on editing stuff for my Patreon. I am going to transcribe some more of my journal. So I gotta finish my book stuff, and then man, I got a few other things I gotta get going. Oh, I think I might do a live stream with the fights. There's UFC fights tonight.
Cool.
I think I might do something for my YouTube channel.
Do it up. Let these guys know where to follow you and what
Everything
you're working on.
at johnfish.net. You go to johnfish.net and you can find everything else.
Perfect. Cool. Gentlemen, I'm going to be on Hot Dude Party over at Modern Life Dating. Go over to that channel and subscribe right now. We'll be on live at 11. We got some pretty cool stuff to talk about. With that said, John and I will be back here on Wednesday at 3 p.m. Western Pacific time. All right. With that said, see you guys later. And actually, I will be live tomorrow, Sunday, 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, reinvigorating, getting back on since my break with War Story Sunday. So I will see you tomorrow as well. With that said, we'll see you later.
Later.